jumps on the gram of the Insta. I initially didn't have a subject to talk to, but now I do.
Oh,
I'm also obviously open to any of your. Come on. Connect streaming software. Let's go. How many seconds are we in? 20 seconds and still hasn't. Yes, there we are. Yes, I think it's working. Okay. Everyone, welcome to Rich and Hydrated Diamonds and Demons editions, motherfucker. I have abandoned my pretty office and I'm just now in the living room because the pretty office gets either super cold or super warm. So you all of y'all who are watching right now are witnessing the center of the fixer upper of the bane of my fucking existence right now. The nemesis of my arch and all of the other language. But we're keeping it real here. Team No Delusion. Kelly, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. Super hydrated.
Super hydrated. You're really rich and hydrated.
Hyper hydrated. Yeah.
Hyper rich, hyper hydrated.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring to the table today, and it's going to be probably extra fun from a Eastern European and Western European perspective versus an American perspective, is how birth control was pushed and how it affected, again, at least my life. I know tens of millions of other people too, but like how it affected our life. And then I would love to hear, I figured I'm gonna do like a 2-minute intro and then I want to hear how it was on this side of the pond.
Sure.
Are you on birth control?
No.
Have you been?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you've been at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so for us, mostly it got sold to, for one, to like control your acne or potential acne. And we could, as 14 years olds, go to the doctor, and the doctor didn't have to ask parental permission. So all of us went secretly on birth control. And then obviously once our parents found out that we were on birth control, there was like mass panic. I wasn't having any sex. I just wanted a clear skin and I wanted a regular period. And on top of that, so in Europe, you have like obviously you have several brands, and there's one brand, back then it was called Diana, that was like the strongest hormonal one. A person was never allowed to be on that for absolutely more than 2 years. I've been on it for like 14 years. Because it's like the most inflammatory hormonal fucking influx. So now in hindsight, I wonder how much of my anger was mine versus how much was I just in like an angry frenzy. Yeah. And I remember when I went off of it, that like every day I could literally like not only visually, but like feel more clearer. It was like I've been driving around in a dirty ass windshield all my life, and I didn't know how much cleaner it could get until it started cleaning itself, right? And obviously I did the classic thing. I was dating someone, did not like that person at all after I went off birth control. Because birth control completely like convolutes your compatibility system, right? So and the last thing that I want to say, and it was very much sold for us in Europe in a way that there's absolutely no harm in just skipping a period, or 1 or 2 or 3. There's no harm in it. You can just skip them. Just keep swallowing your pill. That's how it's called. So I wanted to hear first, okay, how was it for you and how was it here in America?
Yeah. So similar, very similar. And I think part of it was because I think the reason why they went with a lot of non-indicated, treatments, right? So like the actual birth control, so in the United States, I should say, there's something called an indication on a prescription. That means that's what it was tested for. That's what it was regulated for. That's what it was approved for, right? These are the things that this drug can do, right? Legally, you can sell it like this, right? You can sell it like this as a drug that does this. So most birth controls go for the low hanging fruit and say, okay, it prevents, it has a 99% efficacy rate in preventing pregnancy. The research is already done. It's a lot more turnkey. It's easier to do. You already have half the studies are done. Not as hard to go to market. I can get this out to market immediately, right? But there is the other stuff, right? There is the non-indicated stuff. So it cannot sell itself as acne clearing, as an advertisement. It can't make a medical claim to that. It can't make any sort of major claims to that. The doctor can say, I've seen it do this, right? And if you listen to how it's presented, that's literally what happens. They cannot sell it as that. So you can't say, I want some sort of acne treatment. I'll go, what should I get? And the doctor's like, and the doctor can prescribe you birth control. Like, that's not how it can't be for that, right? It has to be, well, I'm giving you birth control technically to prevent a pregnancy, because that's what this drug is for. It just so happens that one of the side effects is you'll have a regular period. It might help with your, moderate your hormonal balance. It will help with your acne. It'll help with your, PMS, mitigate your cramps, etc. None of those things are things that birth controls are indicated for. Okay, just to be clear. So the only thing it's indicated for is to actually prevent a pregnancy. That's it. So when people were talking about, and just a slight tangent, when people were talking about, the fact that, there were some sort of regulation or prevention of getting, birth control, or they were comparing birth control to that of erectile dysfunction pills. That's right. I remember. So they were saying that, birth control and erectile dysfunction pills are pretty much the same thing. And it's just like, well, they're not, but okay. I said, one is treating an actual physical dysfunction, right? So you have this condition where you can't get your dick up, and they give you this pill and you can get your dick up. That's literally what it's indicated for. The thing is that Viagra and and Cialis and all those drugs, they're technically they're treating a blood condition. So they've used it for other things that are not that, right? So they've given it in tiny doses. They've given it to infants who have a blood condition where the blood's not flowing. It regulates their blood condition and helps with the low blood pressure. People have given it it's been given to men with low, people with low blood pressure who can't, who are having trouble with that. And it's given to people for that. There's no hormone. It is for blood flow. So it is its own thing, but you would not be able to, some insurances won't cover for that, because the fact that it's not indicated for that, right? So I will cover it if you can't get your dick up, but I will not cover it if you have a blood condition and this could help you, right? We're very much an insurance-based healthcare system, so that's a lot of the underpinning of how it's presented to us is because of this system that we have, right? So just to give you an idea, and then it's the same thing with birth control. It's like, the insurance company cannot cover it as an acne treatment. The insurance company is going to cover it as birth control, because that's what it's indicated for. And so there's a technicality involved in that, where when you go in and you say, if you want birth control, if you ask for it, then they'll say, okay, we'll give you, you understand, we'll try you off with this. It's a low dose, this, and, some of the side effects could be this, and this, right? Which everybody knows that's why you're going in. You're not necessarily trying to have sex. You're just like, I really have shitty periods and I'd really love to not have that, So a lot of women go in for that. A lot of women do. Yeah. They don't go in because they're trying to, they're not trying to be pregnant. They're just like, I just like the side effects. And, and because they're women, no one's actually questioning whether or not it's for actual birth control or not, what their motive is, right? So it kind of just happens. It kind of gets shuffled along. I don't know what the incentive has become, but when I was coming up, it was the doctors, to your point, would request private meetings with preteen girls and young girls who are, coming on to their menstrual years, and ask for private conversations with them and have the parents leave the room. And I never thought that was a comfortable thing to do, because I was like, I don't have a mom like that. I didn't have a mom that was really crazy. So it's just why does she have to leave? Well, there's some things you might not want to say in front of her. And it's no, not at 12. Not at 12. At 12, I'm pretty much okay. I'm an open book. Like, I shouldn't be whatever you think I'm trying to keep from my mom ain't happening at 12. So,
from your Japanese mom, by the way.
My Japanese mom can be in the room. We're good, you know.
And you're the Japanese mom that has like superpowers, by the way. Like, it's not oh, you know, I had no idea my daughter was doing this. Oh no, it's like different. It's different.
It's different, right? So I'm just like, no, we're good. Let her stay, you know, whatever. So they asked me, and I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, and I didn't have it that bad initially. I didn't. My period got worse later, at which point I was like, okay, I'll see about getting birth control. And I had some serious side effects because they're all different ones. And there was one, and I forgot what it was called, but it was so intense that like my legs swole up. I had like massive edema. I had cystic acne. People thought I was pregnant at work. I had blown up so much. Like, it was all puffiness. It wasn't like weight. I guess it could have been water weight, but like, it wasn't like weight gain. It was just like, I was so puffy. Everybody thought I was pregnant. And I was like, holy shit, I got to go back and get this fixed. And like, well, you know, it's kind of a hit or miss thing. Like, you just got to try each one and see what works for you, whatever. And I ultimately landed on the NuvaRing because I wasn't ingesting a pill. I felt like it was a little bit better. I could take it out, you know, and put it in and whatever. It was fine. And for whatever reason, there was a corner that was turned in the whole birth control thing where the doctors literally push it on you now to get an IUD. And I was like, yeah, that's never happening. That will never happen. The only thing that will ever be in my uterus is either blood, egg, or child. But there is no way you're putting that copper, plastic, whatever it is, up in there. And
whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I am not doing that. Like, that's not a thing. And I'm not big on birth control to begin with. Like, after learning, and of course, you know, women learn after being on it, right? We're not told this stuff.
And it was a different time, right? Like, there was a doctor, there was no internet, and you had kind of like the same 5 people around you,
right?
That might not have any effect, or some.
Right, and all your friends are on it, and they don't notice anything, and they don't, you know. And it's like, but it's one of, I think it's a lot more subtle. Like, aside from my adverse reaction to the one, right? I think the effects that it had on me were very subtle. You know, that I notice it more now not being on it than I did when I was on it. Like, to your point, I didn't know that I had a dirty windshield. I just thought this was normal, you know, and so you take it off and you're like, oh, okay, that's weird. I didn't see that before. So, you know, and I feel like I was enough of a different person to where other people wouldn't notice, but I started to notice. You know, like, I was still me to most people. Like, you know, I wasn't lashing out or anything like that, but I was a lot more reserved and a lot more withdrawn than I know myself to be, if that makes sense. So like, I knew that I was far more, I'm not extroverted so much as I am just outspoken. So like, but I kept taking, like, I would keep taking like this, you know, back seat and say, oh, it's fine, I won't say anything. Okay, I won't say anything. And I was doing that a lot more than was normal for me. You know, at some point my parents noticed, and I thought, you know, and look, the thing is that your behavior brings a circumstance. It invites a certain circumstance. It curates a circumstance around you and an environment around you. People are behaving a certain way around you because of the way you're behaving. It's all, you know, it's such an exchange. It's been happening for a while, right? I was in a marriage at the time, 2 kids, and it just, you know, and I was like, it's got to be, you know, I don't know what's wrong. Like, at this point, I just don't know what's wrong with me. Like, maybe it's postpartum depression. I just had a kid, you know. I had so many things to blame, right? I had so many things to blame. I was like, I can blame having a kid. I can blame, you know, just the fact that, you know, I'm in a marriage and I'm young and I'm trying to adjust to having this new child, blah, blah, blah. All these things I could explain it away, right? and then of course, my ex-husband thought I had something physically wrong with me, had me go do several panels of blood work to see if there was, something wrong with my thyroid, if there was something wrong with me, chemically. Nothing. And I was just like, and so everybody chalked it up to postpartum depression. That's what they did. Mm-hmm. And it was weird because I was like, okay, but I had just gotten back on birth control, right? After having my son, I was maybe 4 months, 4 months or so. And I was like, okay, I went back on it, and I wasn't, and I was like, there's just something not right. There's something not right. And it just kept getting worse. Like it just kept getting like more pronounced and more obvious to me. And nobody else, which is crazy because nobody else noticed. But then like I wasn't around anybody who knew me except for my husband, right? So I was just like, this is, who else is there to flag that? Like who else is there to say, and like hold me accountable to anything? Like, anybody who knows who I am was not around. And finally, it was just, I was like, well, okay, I'll get on antidepressants. So I got on antidepressants on top of birth control. And I got to tell you, I was a zombie for 2-3 years.
I didn't even know this.
And I was like, and they kept bumping up the dosage. And I was just like, is this how it works, really? Like, is this really it? Like, because I'm a zombie. Like, I feel.
Tell me more about that. Like when you say when you say I'm a zombie, as an outsider, I instantly perceive that as in like you have no emotional expression, you have no energy, and you're kind of just like walking around. How does it feel on the inside?
It was okay. So I was kind of going through the motions, right, of my life. Like just I would do everything. And honestly, I don't know how it presented externally. If I'm being honest, I don't know how other people saw me, but I knew how I was perceiving myself. And it was the weirdest thing because I was like, it was like I wasn't in control of me anymore. I was on autopilot. So I'm sitting there like just not even steering, like I felt like I'm here, but I'm not taking the wheel anymore. I'm just going to let this thing ride out. She knows what to do. She'll do it. And, and so I was like almost referring to myself as another person, like there's me and then there's me, and I was like, it was the weirdest thing. It was almost like, I'm not going to say out of body experience, but it was almost like a split within me that was like, there's like the cognitive me, but then there's also just Kelly that everybody else sees that already kind of has this like autopilot that can go, and I don't have to touch the wheel. I can just do whatever.
So you're just in the passenger seat looking at what's happening around you and how the autopilot Kelly in the driver's seat is driving the car of life.
Yeah.
Damn.
Every day. And to begin with, I'm a very routine person. Mm-hmm. So nobody can tell that I've done anything. Anything's changed because I do the same thing every day. You can set your clock to it. I still do that. Like with or without meds, I'm that type of person. I've always been a very routine person. So like I get up at the same time every day. I go to the first kid, do this thing, the second kid, do the thing. Okay, it's time to get everybody dressed, time to give everybody breakfast, clean the house. It's like,
is this the Japanese in you?
I don't know. I think my dad's more like this than my mom.
Oh, really?
My dad was a lot more like this than my mom.
Okay.
So my mom just kind of got things done, but she's very scattered and very like, but so I did that for about 2 or 3 years until finally I was like, this is really not it. Like, I'm not happy. And this is bad. Like it sounds weird to say that because there isn't anything actually bad happening, right? No, I didn't neglect a child. Nobody died. Nobody got hurt. I didn't set the house on fire and forget the stove or anything like that. I'm not poor. I'm a stay-at-home mom, living in a nice suburb, like nothing bad is happening. So to anyone else watching, including my ex-husband, it's hard to imagine that I'm miserable, right? It's hard to understand how I could be miserable in that situation, which looking back, if I told myself, if it weren't me and someone else told me that, I'd be like, oh, rough life. Your lobster's too buttery and your steak's too juicy. You know what I'm saying? Wah. But like it was just all happening inside. Like it was not, it was not something external. But I didn't know that. I thought, the reason why I'm feeling this inside is because of something external. So again, my ex-husband is thinking that I have some sort of medical condition. And I'm thinking, and then my doctor is saying, well, perhaps maybe you have a mental condition. And then at some point I was like, I don't have mental conditions. Like at some point there's like me in the passenger seat saying, hey, pull this shit over for a second. We don't have mental conditions. Like, that's not us.
Like, what were some of the, I mean, I've been trying to figure out how to ask this. Like, what became some of the markers where you went like, nothing is wrong, but something feels off? Like, was it, that something beautiful happened and you didn't feel like a certain joy? Was it that something bad happened and you didn't feel a certain sadness or anger? Like what? Because that's the perspective that we have on the outside as people who've never been on, because it's not a thing. I think in East Europe, well, in East Europe, depression doesn't exist at all. So
right. I still don't believe it was depression. I still believe that it was a chemical like issue, like literally, because, and when I say chemical, I don't mean brain chemical. I mean hormonal. Like I took hormones, and
you took hormones, and that unbalanced things.
Right. I was on hormones and I was on an antidepressant. So like those were the reasons why I was fucked up, not because I was inherently so. I did not believe that about myself. Like that was where I finally that was finally where I jumped off, where I was just like, no, like no. At first, the way the antidepressant was sold to me was that it wasn't actually an antidepressant. She said, it's just something to take the edge off. She's like, it's something that just kind of calms your nerves a little bit. That's how she sold it to me.
But were you nervous?
And I was like, no, I kind of was like, at the time, I wasn't a big skeptic of anything. I wasn't much in the way of, medical intervention. I wasn't big on that, but like, I was like, but I wasn't nearly as skeptical as I am now. Like, I think I am skeptical now in large part because of all of that. And I've certainly told my daughter, like, to stay the fuck away from it. I said, just stay the fuck away from it.
So let's dive into, I want to hear the conspiracy theories, whether personal or collective. Like, why are these things being pushed? For one, I think because it's so weird. Because on one hand, I think that pushing as many as women on birth control will allow a society where like low testosterone men have actual partners, right? Because otherwise no fucking woman would go for them, or the majority of the women would not go for them. But that means also, but birth control in of itself doesn't procreate, so it's not to create a bigger population. And the antidepressant, you'll have to give me your own view on that, because we don't have that like America has that. So obviously profit is one. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But what's the whole reason for the push?
I would say that, I think some of it comes from like the whole like feminist stuff, where it's just like there is something. I feel as though the feminists, right, got their playbook and said, what are men doing that we don't do? Because we want to do that now. Whatever it is you're doing, we want all that, right? Oh, you're fucking around? Cool. We want to fuck around.
And this is one of my biggest frustrations with feminism is like, and I see it when women still use that phrase. Like, women can fuck around and just for joy. Yeah, but you can't. And has nothing to do with it's unfair, because they're like, well, I want to do that too. For one, look, let's be really, y'all, I'm going to be really honest. A man will come by sticking his dick in a fucking apple pie, right? Mm-hmm. A woman, significantly much more complex to get to an orgasm. So by default, we're already not starting with the same goal.
Right. We don't start at the same place on the track.
No, we don't start with the same place. We don't go towards the same goal. Like, much complexity. On top of that, you can become pregnant.
Correct. And you're more susceptible to contracting a lot of STDs that men typically are not, and it's right. Like,
And I'm
Maybe
like,
if
just like,
they're bottom, but like not if they're given, like it's just
right. And there's this
so
like thing in feminist corners where on one hand they're like, oh, we want to do what the men do, and also like men can't
yeah,
even make us come. I'm like, what are you doing?
I don't understand that. That's not a flex.
Like
That's
you're
not a flex.
bragging how men can't, like, how like only lasting like 1 minute or something, or they can't even find the clue. Like that's an ongoing joke in feminist corners, right?
Right.
And then you want to do the same thing like men do? Like what?
I don't get it. Like men aren't even trying. Like this is not even something that like this is not something that men even try. Like men, like men just wake up at 13 and they have a boner until they're 50. Like it's just like leave them alone. Like poor guy. Like you act as if like this is something that he created for himself and he totally didn't. Like it's just like he's physiologically built this way and you're trying to retrofit yourself into that and it's not working, like
Right. And it feels like it's, if anything, it's impeding on one's, like, obviously an orgasm is great, but like
yeah.
being led by, a penis that just goes up whenever it wants to have a little party outside of it, like that doesn't seem like the best thing.
No, it doesn't. And like,
Like a
it's
hot
just like,
woman walking by, and I can see it even still right now. I'm a fucking grown ass woman. I see it with like people and like a really attractive woman passing by, and like there's a click click error, and like everyone starts talking a little bit differently and wants to be a little bit more of service, and all of
yeah,
a sudden everything changes.
right. We're not the same. Like, fuck, just let it be, like, and I think some of it was just like, we should be able to do whatever men do. And it's just like, but you can't because you're not them, like the consequences are just different for you. And like, you're not and like, no matter how much you want to be accorded the same, you can't because you're not the same. Like, it's just never gonna get there. And I don't know why we fight for that because I never understood that. Like, I kept trying to understand, like, why do we want that though? Like, why do we want it? Like, what is the value in this? Well, it can't just be men sleeping around. It's got to be women too. And I'm like, so you want to sleep around? All of this, so you can go hoe it up? Like, girl, just hoe it up. Just go sleep with people. Like, fuck, get a condom and sleep with people. Like, I don't know. But I don't know why we needed a movement for that. But there were a few things, right? Like, so it was originally, like, the original history in the United States of this was,
I'm making notes about this. Go away. Keep talking.
was more racially oriented, right? Like, it was more like, we don't want poor people. It was more eugenicsy, like, we don't want poor people. We don't want Black people. We don't want these sorts of people. And they tend to procreate more than white people. So, and affluent people. So let's just encourage them. If they can't control themselves, sterilize them in some way, and just make it so that they can't have kids, because they just have too many kids. Poor people have too many kids, and it's, it's a burden on society and it's a blight on society. And that's what it was. They tested it originally in Puerto Rico on Puerto Rican women, had horrible side effects. It was the worst. Like, it was disgusting. Like, I mean, there's a whole, you can go read up on it. It's really sad. And remarketed it here. And then it got repackaged, rather than as a eugenics thing, it got repackaged as liberation, in the same way abortion did, right? Like, abortion was like originally a eugenics thing, and that didn't, and then people were like, well, that's kind of dark. And they're like, oh no, now it's liberation, right? Oh, okay then, and it's like, okay, so fine, you can go have an abortion now, and that's liberating. And it's like, but I feel as though it's kind of like, it's not the same thing as trans, but it is that it's it's definitely a cousin, right? It's a descendant, because it's a distant cousin, because it's women trying to be men in some way.
Yes.
Denying their femininity.
God, was that the preface of the fucking trans movement?
Oh, of course. Right. Because if you think about it, for women especially, men is a different story. Men, it's a kink. But for women, it was very much escaping their womanhood. Ask any detransitioner that's female. They were trying to run away from some sort of female trauma. Like, there was either sexual trauma, or there was some sort of like ADHD involved or something, or
I just took notes. Yeah.
But it's women fleeing like running away from the objectification of being women. Like it is that very
but
much.
the
So.
other way around is also true, where where men have romanticized the
Absolutely.
objectification
And
of
they run
women, and they're
toward it.
like, I want to
They run
experience
toward
that
it.
too.
Correct. So it's the exact opposite, which once again confirms, right? Women and men are not the same. Like we're just not wired the same. Like,
did you hear about that one the gal who transitioned into a man, and she what's the way, I have to use internet language, otherwise we're gonna get kicked off of the YouTube, and she um offed herself. No, that's not the she unalived herself, that's the word. Um and I'm saying herself, I don't give a fuck. Because she became a man, and she passed as a man, and she was like, "This is the most fucking lonely thing ever. No one cares about me. There's no brotherhood. No one cares how I'm feeling." And
yeah,
unalived herself. And I'm like, that's what you get for romanticizing.
right. You
It's
thought it would
really,
be, you
because it's
thought
not
you would
real.
be better. You know, you thought it would be better on the other side, but men have their own hardships, you know, that women don't.
And feminism told you that they don't.
Right. They told you that
If
it's just
that
like,
isn't the epitome of feminism, where like
right,
the men have it so easy, so now we have all these women transition into men,
right,
they think they are, right? And like, oh no.
right. No, there's a stark realization on the other side of that says, wait, I don't like this, you know, like, and I don't know if there's any sort of peer pressure to not speak up and say I fucked up, but nonetheless, there's just, you know, we're going to see it in the next maybe 5 years or so. You'll start to see a wave of detransitioners who are suing
It's already started right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but that's the thing is, it's, I think, you know, I think birth control, and I think birth control is definitely something that was used as a, and abortion kind of in conjunction with each other were used to basically say you can, you know, you can escape your femininity, you can escape your, you know, the natural consequences of
The
being
burden.
feminine. Right. And really it made it that way, you know, like kind of like, it's weird because feminism relies on you dominion, you know, in some way being diminutive and like accepting that being a woman isn't sufficient, you know, like that there's something insufficient about you as a woman by default, and therefore you have to enhance yourself in some way with, you know, and it's like, and feminism does that, like, which is crazy. It's not just the magazines that show you the skinny women with the airbrush and the makeup. It's not just that. It's the part where, you know, you can go and sleep around without consequence, and, you know, and whatever that consequence is, you can take care of it later, you know, and be, you know, dispassionate about it. And the thing is like women's, you know, and I've heard this a lot in the manosphere. I'm not big on it, but I've heard it, and I agree with this point, is that women bring a different value to the table than men. You know, men bring provision and strength to the table, and if a woman feels like he's doing that, she feels like he's adequate, and that's how he's measured. You know, and when what women bring to the table is not their career, they can't bring the same thing to the table. They can't bring security and provision. You know what I'm saying? So when you bring that to the table and men are put off by it, or they're not impressed by it, women get really put off. They're just like, wait, but I got all these degrees.
He's
and I earned all this.
Intimidated by me.
He's jealous. And it's like, no, he's not jealous. He's not gay.
He's not comparing. No, yeah, he's not competing.
That's right. If he wanted another dude, he could go get another dude.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want another dude. He wants a woman because he wants something that's, you know, that's complementary to him, not the same as him. So you being the same thing as him is not really impressive to him. He's not interested, or you know, if he is, he's kind of like, okay, good for you, but he's not like hype about your career, nor should he be. He's not. That's not what he's looking for. And so women are just, you know, so women get all shitty about it, and they're like, he couldn't even respect the fact that I'm a career woman too, in my own right, and I do this and I do that, and it's just like, he doesn't care, dude. That's not impressive to him. That's not attractive. It's just something you got, you know. It's like he's interested in that the way he's interested in the fact that you like scrapbooking. Like, good for you, you know. I mean, yeah, do that. I'm not going to discourage it, but don't expect me to cheer you on while you're sitting there while you're fucking gluing pictures of you and your bestie and embellishing the page. You know, like, he doesn't care. Like,
oh my god,
like, And that's fair. Like I don't know why we expect men to be our girlfriends. You know? Like
So let's go
stop.
into that though. Like how did we get to, and this is probably like a very definitely Eastern European, not Western European, because Western European definitely like swallowed the feminism pill and made it like a new beast on its own and a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
But in East Europe, so for one, and I made this poll on the Twitter recently when I asked, like, does your wife, or if you're the woman, do you pee in front of your husband? And I have a bunch of men who are married to East Europeans on my timeline, and they're like, hell no. And I'm like, I'll never pee in front of my husband. It's just not happening.
Right.
And all the Western women are always like, yeah, and you've seen me worth, you've seen birth, and well, East European women, their husbands have seen birth too. They still don't pee. Like, so that's not a measure, because your Western women are unique for that.
Yeah.
But so there's another thing, like, and there's endless memes and skits about this online and on the YouTube, where the Western woman wants to have, basically wants to have a male best girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, no, why would I tell my husband when I get home about what I talked about with my girlfriends, or how I got my nail done, because he doesn't care.
Right. Right. Doesn't that
Nor vice versa, by the way. Like when he gets like really
Right,
excited about like finding a car and like figuring the engine or whatever, like I also don't care. Like I'm saying as a woman, because I'm a
Right,
tomboy, so
right.
it's different for me. But yeah. And
But
here you want a male bestie.
yeah. And I was like, don't you have a gay friend for that? Like isn't that what gay dudes are for? Like you
Like
go
literally.
like literally that he gives you the male perspective, but he's gay, so you don't have to worry about him. He can be your friend and he'll be honest and whatever. Like your husband is your partner in business. Like he's almost more of a business partner and a romantic interest, and like, he incites something completely different. If you're trying to relate to your man like a girlfriend, it's gonna fall flat. Like it's just because he's not gonna talk to you like a bro. Like and nor do you want him to all day, because like fuck,
Oh
like
my
you'd be sitting there just like, what the fuck? Like go get a friend. God.
Like sometimes I hear the men talk amongst each other. I'm like, if one of y'all would ever speak to me this way, I would fucking stab you. Like the fucking disrespect. And I know, again, because that's how bros are against each other, right?
This is them. It's like it's social roughhousing. They like to chide
and I
each
love
other.
seeing it, and I'm like,
Between the men, it's hilarious. Between
100%.
men, it blesses me. Like absolutely. I love male banter. I love male rapport. I love it. Like it's just beautiful to me. But do not bring that to me.
No.
That is not for me. That is for you guys, and I enjoy that for you.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. So it's like, I mean, that's and I've told that to Chris before. I said, there's certain things that are just very endearing to me about men with men, like their camaraderie. I mean, I love how the male energy in team sports. I'm not big on the sport, but I'm big on their energy. Like, and I'm big on when they score, you can watch a 30-year-old man turn 7 because his face just lights up and he's this kid. He's just this kid, and he's running up to his friends, and they're just like, picking each other up, throwing a motherfucker and laughing about it. And it's just like, but they totally like are like that, and it's moving to me. Like it really is. I love that. But men need that for themselves. They're not going to do that with me, and I need my time with my girls. Like, and we're going to talk our shit, and it's going to be annoying to a man to listen to for any long period of time. And I get it. It's like, I don't expect him to endure me sitting with a girlfriend and talking for 2 hours. Like,
it's super fascinating for me when men come alongst each other and like solution oriented things need to happen, and they all disagree on what the solution is, and like their little egos.
It's adorable, like the whole.
And then like and then like realizing that one of the egos was wrong, and seeing how they handled that, even.
No, it's great. I mean, but that's them. Like, and
Yeah.
I think, to your point about, like birth control and stuff, I think that's what it was trying to do, is kind of like neutralize how women are to be less female. I
So
mean,
for corporate. So again, I'm just playing with all the theories here, right?
mhm.
Was
So
it so they're more workforce, less at home?
probably a little bit of that, to kind of to say, if you need more of a workforce, you can't have, you staying home and having 5, 7 kids is not a
No,
thing
you
anymore.
can't have the maternal instinct.
No, right. So you got to subdue that. And that's one way to do it is through birth control. We'll do that for you. It definitely subdues that desire to have children, like you're just kind of like indifferent toward it. I mean, I know I was, it was crazy. I was like, okay, I guess if you want to have kids, I'll get off of birth control. And, that's what we're doing. I was not like, time to be a mom. It wasn't that at all. Like, I wasn't excited, and it's not because I hate kids. It was literally just the state of mind of being on birth control for 10 years beforehand, and and leading up to it was just like, oh, we're gonna actually try and get pregnant now. Okay, I mean, I guess sure, let's do that. I mean, I wasn't angry about it, but it wasn't like I was sitting there, oh, my biological clock is ticking. Well, your biological clock is far more loud when you're not on birth control.
Word.
Is. Like your fucking ovaries start screaming and they're like, yeah, you want babies. I have a baby, and like I think
I've never ovulated the way I did after I went off of birth control. Like
right?
I need a shirt that says sorry I was ovulating, because the amount of people, and again, I've never been a person that would sleep around, but I fucking loved the game. I loved leading people on. I loved flirting my way into and out of everything. And then like ovulation was over, I'm like, I have no idea why the fuck you're texting me, because whoever like you thought you knew is not here
That's
anymore.
not
That
her.
was a 3-day window. She's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, she ain't here.
She ain't here. She moved. She
Yeah,
moved far away. She'll be back next month, but too
right.
late.
Too late. You missed her. Correct. But it was kind of the thing, and I was like, I think that's I think that's part of it, is that it kind of neutralizes that component. So like, oh, okay, you'll go to work, you won't have as many kids, and you'll be a loyal worker. I think it had to. I think there is an agenda of it as well, where it was like, to your point, right? Not only am I like put off by not necessarily biologically pursuing children anymore, right? So you don't even have to market it to me anymore, right? I've already submitted to this medically. So now when you say, but look at you, you've got this good job and you got a college degree and you're doing that, and you're a boss babe, and you just kind of feel edified in that, and you're just like, yeah, I got some stuff going on. I've been doing pretty good at work, and I'm doing this, and I'm all right. And like you kind of give yourself a pat on the back and you feel affirmed by that. And it's marketed to you and reaffirmed to you every day through all these different, through media, through programs, through movies, about, it's like a chick who could never kick anyone's ass is suddenly kicking everyone's ass in this movie. And you're just like, yeah, I totally believe that. I totally believe it. What is she, 5'4", $115? She's taking out this whole Roman army. Absolutely. I woke up feeling the same way. It's a whole mood, and it's like, that's not, but that's not real life, like, and so I think there are, there's that piece of it. But then you were saying, before about how, who else is going to go after the beta male? Well, while we were getting worked over by birth control, men were getting emasculated, right? And men were being told, you're an asshole, you're toxic, you're working out is white supremacy and whatever, whole slew of shit, right? They're being told. And what happens? Well, men fall out of shape. They kind of let themselves go, and they're like, all right, fuck it, and they care less. They care less about themselves, they care less about who they date. And here, so now, I mean, it's bonkers to see the couples, these days, walking around, where I'm just like, how is this like, how does nature allow this? You know, like
Right.
how does nature allow this? This is a evolutionary dead end by all accounts. He is slovenly. His stomach is hanging out below his shirt line. Like he has hair everywhere. He has a Cheeto stuck in his beard. He's gross. She has one dreadlock just coming off of her head. She has folds on folds, and her face is a tackle box. She is she has piercings everywhere, and it's just like, and she is grossly overweight, and nobody told her that she's no longer a size 8. You know, like so she's still trying to put that together and spilling out.
And the seams of her leggings are screaming like this, "Let me out of here!"
Right, and I'm just like, I'm just seeing like the Walmart poster children couples where I'm just like, and they're having kids, they're doing it, and I'm just like, it's not right, you know, like, and it's unfair. We did this to them, like, you know, there was a larger agenda that ultimately culminated in producing these types of people all the time. Like that's a normal thing. It didn't used to be normal, and now it's normalized, you know. And then we had the big is beautiful, and you know, fly at any size or have lovely at any size, and whatever. And men
The
were being,
body positivity.
yeah, the body positivity. So women were letting themselves go. It didn't matter, and they were
And on
turning.
top of that, the whole like, people should love me for who I am. I am perfect. That one is one
Right.
of the fucking
I
no.
Right, and I had,
No.
well, right,
You're
and
not
I, you know,
perfect.
I simultaneously, I don't need no man, but also, why doesn't anybody love me? Like it's just weird shit of like, you know, I don't bring a goddamn thing to the table, but I don't understand why he doesn't want to put money in my Cash App. You know, like it's like for what?
Just by
Meanwhile,
virtue of existing, I'm
right,
perfect
and you're
the way I
gross
am. I have
because
a
you're
pussy,
gross.
therefore I'm like
Yeah,
valuable. Oh,
right.
okay.
Okay, but like, you know, you're gross.
Yeah.
And then there's him, right? There's either the guy who's let himself go entirely, or there's the guy who takes care of himself, right? And it's like, okay, but that guy now can pick whoever he wants.
Right. And that became so with that evolution of like with the economic growth of the Western world, the the survival of the fittest didn't change, but it expanded, right? Because the city people, the city boys who have a few billy or a few milli,
Mm-hmm.
they might not be the fittest. They might not even build a house, but
Mm-hmm.
their survival comes from other means because their
Sure,
resources are differently allocated. They don't come
sure,
from direct muscle and ability, but from
sure.
different abilities.
Sure, sure. So like, yeah, so maybe there, you know, if you've got that kind of money, then that kind of offsets the fact that you might not be in the best shape of your life. But, you know, but a woman, you know, showing up and saying, "Yeah, I'm going to be this overweight woman who doesn't take care of herself," you know, and demand and start making demands is just, and even, you know what, I'll even put it out there and say, even the pretty ones can, you know, can also make demands, but what else have you got? You know, again, you're either pretty and you're empty-headed, you know, or you're slovenly and you're empty-headed. But like, what are women actually bringing to the table at this point, where it's like a man who has means, is successful, and is, you know, good looking, and all and fit? Like, what do you have that he doesn't already have? Like, what are
Right. And
you?
yeah. And if you are of the pretty ones, you like either you're legit a little dummy, which makes you very naive, which is attractive to a lot of people.
Older men,
Um,
yeah,
or yeah,
yeah,
or you are by virtue of the eye the what is it, the arm candy,
right.
and that's a job.
That is a job.
That's a job.
That's actually a job. Right. You become like the geisha, right? You are more than just
And
the,
which is again, I respect the hustle, but let's be very transparent about what it is. Your
right,
job is to be the arm candy.
right. I mean, and you could very
Immaculate
well
looking,
be, right.
no, almost like docile or like a character that he likes, right?
Hmm. Right.
So yeah.
someone, and like you're putting out, like that's a thing, like, and to a great degree, if you can bring this to the table, you would be like the full package, is that you could be his confidant, right?
Yeah.
Because that is the supreme package of the geisha, right?
Yeah.
Is that she's well put together, she knows her place, right? She's well behaved, she's a good confidant, she's a good sounding board for your ideas on what you want, on what to do next, and a good strategist with you, and she's very affirming, and she puts out, but like they were integral to a lot of the leadership in Japan for the greatest number of years.
And
Women
worldwide,
trained,
right? Like, it
women were
was a very
trained, right?
Mhm.
And they still have the Mako and the Geiko out in Japan. It's not as common, but they do still train them up, because it's a big deal. Like, you really are all the things, whatever he needs. You're like his Swiss Army wife, right? Like, it's like you got whatever tool he needs, you pull that shit out of nowhere. Like, your purse has it. Like, if you're that person, yeah, I mean, sure. But like, there's people who train to be that, right? Like,
Yeah. No,
so
like,
like,
again,
so your
full-time
shit didn't wake
fucking
up that way.
job.
That's right. So you've done everything. But that's the thing, right? And this is what I tell people also, is like, and kind of related, is if you are looking to be a particular type, like if you're trying to be exceptional, I don't care what it is, in whatever. And exceptional includes, I want to be a stay-at-home mom that has, a brood of kids. I want 5 kids, and I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Okay, cool. I want to be arm candy. I want to be, this guy's, this right hand. I want to be on his right arm, and I want to be his one and only. Oh, okay. I want this kind of man. Okay. Or if the man is saying, I want a wife and 5 kids, right? Or I want this and all that. That means you're working towards that from day fucking one. You are training yourself for that role in life from day fucking one. That is not something you stumble into. Like, that is something you have cultivated in your life. You have disciplined yourself to such a degree that the woman who wants to be a stay-at-home wife with 5 kids has become the consummate woman that can do that. Mm-hmm. And is desirable, like that a man would be like, yes, I want to have 5 kids with you, and I want to provide for you, and I want you to want for nothing, and it's like you are going to have to attract him. So you're going to have to keep it together. You're going to have to be well put together. You're going to have you're a good head on your shoulders. You're going to have to be well disciplined. You're going to have premium values, because you want 5 kids. Like, he doesn't want 5 assholes. He wants 5 kids. So it's like, you're going to have to make sure that those kids are going to be in line. What are your values, and who are you, and what type of mom are you going to be? And are you homeschooling these kids? And that's shit that, like, you should be working towards from day one. I see so many people complaining about the fact that, we're too poor to have kids. I said, you just didn't want them. You didn't want them. Now you're asking, I mean, you wanting kids at 35 is like me saying, at 50, I wish I would have become a cameraman. Okay, technically.
Or an Olympic player.
Or an Olympic. I want to be an Olympic, triathlete.
Right. Like,
at 50. Why can't I have that?
Right.
Because my shit's 50. Right. And I'm not winning that shit anymore. Like, even if I could finish it, which I could probably at 50, if I really put my mind to it, I might be able to do that. But like, winning it, I'm not beating the Kenyans. Like, I'm not beating the fucking Kenyans at 50. Like, Kenyans going to show up and be like, thanks for, it was fun participating. Yeah, you go and deliver mail every day up and down Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm over here in Chandler. That's like, we're not the same, like, but I think, but that's the thing, is it's like, you're complaining that you can't afford to have kids. You're 35. Where was your plan? What was your fucking plan to have kids? Like, you're 35 and you're wondering, you're going to start planning now? Is that your plan? Is that, I mean, maybe as a man you could. As a man you could probably get away with that, and you can be 50 and still fetch yourself a 20-something, fertile myrtle, and go ahead and have some kids. But then you got to make sure you're not just pulling the first, cute ass off the street. You want somebody who's going to be, an adequate mom, So like, I just, I feel like there's just a lot of, I feel like we're discombobulated right now as men and women. Like, I think there are people who are clear now on, today there are many people who are clear on what it is to be female, what it is to be male in America, or in general. And they've kind of gotten past the drugs and the antidepressants and all the bullshit and the feminism, and they got past all of that, right? I think I would count myself among those people. I would like it if I could be this at 20 and have that over again and understand and have better clarity on all of that, because I didn't have it. I mean, I had boomers. If your parents are boomers in the United States, they feel like this is your inheritance. Feminism is your inheritance. We got this for you. We did this for you, and you're just like, thanks. Okay, and of course, yeah. And the whole time I'm thinking, well, now my husband won't beat me, and I can get a credit card. That's what I'm thinking, right? And it's like, well, I don't know how rampant it was for men to beat their women. Like, that never happened on either side of my parents' families. Like, they weren't beating their spouses, like they were actually quite loving toward each other, like to the extent that they could be. I mean, that they were. I mean, they were. But like, I was watching like my aunts and uncles and stuff, and they were very loving toward each other. Like, they were not. They had no animus towards each other. He wasn't flying off the handle with her. Like, and I'm just like, were they really just beating the piss out of women up until the 70s and then it just stopped? Is that what happened? Like, is that really what you're saying? I just don't believe that. Like, I'm not sold on the idea. But but we're not. I think we've lost that connection to the past. We have. I feel like we've become untethered from the past, and now we're just kind of, we're digging up artifacts of what it was to be in the past.
Like floating through things.
It's unfortunate, because it's just like, because we heard all the stories, and it's like, and the stories were horrible. They were all oppressive. So it's like, and so it takes somebody to sit down with an older person and say, is this really how it was? Was everybody just beating the piss out of each other up until 1970? Like, is that a thing? And, and getting the story straight is like, and
I need everyone, and probably you too. Don't mean to sound like this, but this is how I'm going to say it. I need everyone before next week to listen to 2 podcasts. They're not long. One, Rachel Wilson on Joe Rogan. She has the book, The Secret Occult of Feminism. And while she has the occult, as an occultist myself, she has the occult aspect completely wrong, but that's okay. Everything is still very valid, what she says, and like the history of feminism and how originally women did not want the right to vote, and how that all it's great fucking history. And then the other one is the Real History of Slavery by Matt Walsh, and how
have you watched it? I have not. I haven't bought it. I know you have to buy it, right? Like,
yeah. There's like 48 minutes on YouTube. Just start with that. It'll give you.
Is it free on YouTube?
Guys, I don't think it's the whole thing, because I think it cuts off halfway. But for even the 48 minutes, like, it's been interesting to see online these revelations of people realizing that the IRS and corporate America was, behind feminism, and then the communist push behind feminism created. And like Rachel Wilson does a great linear story of that, like very understandable. Like, explain it to me like I'm 5. And it's been interesting to see online the revelations of the racial war, or at least the result of it here in America, where it was always very transparent. The white man, bad, evil white man. And then like these poor, soft, gentle, loving, living Native Americans. And then you had like the poor slaves, which were all black, right? Like it's kind of in that triangle. And I've had this since very early on, aside from we talked about it. I'm like, I don't think they were like that nice. When I see I remember reading an Indian, like a Native American story, like, like that type of, right? Like when I was like 7, and they traded each other for a horse. And so that was my only, and in East Europe, we don't get any of this, right? We don't get this whole racial thing. We don't have the
Right.
cowboy versus Indian. We didn't get that. That's Hollywood and later on. So that was like my only kind of like depiction of the Native Americans. And then I come here and everyone's like, oh, these Native Americans are just like living in, I'm like, I thought they were beheading people. Like just like the Vikings. Like the Vikings weren't just like, no, they were fucking raping and pillaging. Just by
Right.
virtue of how tribes were working, like worldwide, right?
Correct. Right.
but
The Mongols were doing the same thing and through China. Like,
everywhere. We can discuss Asia, baby. You want to talk about fucking brutality?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Bad.
whoa.
Real bad.
Like
Yeah.
we can go down that.
I don't even
shit.
know how I'm afraid to ask how many people are actually descendants of Genghis Khan, because like that dude was like busy.
on it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But Matt Walsh presents this in his documentary. Like a lot of Americans think that America invented slavery and
Of
it's
course.
exclusive to America. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, the boo boo.
Yeah, no,
Oh, the boo boo.
it's not.
And
I mean,
it's kind of
Thomas Sowell does a whole thing on that as well. Like if you and I've listened to a lot of his podcasts about about slavery and about American history, and it's just like it's not to say it's not an excuse that gives it a pass. It's more contextual to say it's not unique.
no,
It's not
no,
unique
but-
to the United States.
well,
It's-
and it making it sound like America is built because of slavery. Did you see the rest of the world? You mean just like the rest of the world? That's been
Right.
built on slavery? That's what you mean? Like, so
mean-
America's basically normal. Oh, okay.
I mean, right. There's nothing exceptional about it. Like it's, but there were, I mean, the only, it's like, but the difference is that there was a point where the United States said enough on
Yeah.
the slavery. And we
That-
called it.
America is unique in that, by the way.
Right. In England and the US were actually, parity in that. I think England abolished it first and the United States soon after.
France had a hand in it too. France was also like, this doesn't seem right owning people anymore.
Yeah, they just they were just like over it. Like, technology was moving along. They didn't need as much of the field labor. It was just like, I think we're okay. Like, I think we should probably, it was on the way out before the Civil War. It was already on the way out. Like,
Right.
So,
Well, and they're seeing now, so a lot of the like the black like influencer people who used to initially be kind of like anti-white, they're coming now. They're going down the history themselves, and they're like, well, prior to I don't know, fucking x number of years, every slave was meant to work itself off, like every slave. And then a black man came in and went to court, and he was like, no, I want slaves forever. What do you mean? That was a black man. That wasn't a white man.
right.
And again, Matt Walsh goes into like the black masters were significantly harder than just, again, if you wanted a master, you would be better off with a white master, because the black masters were way more brutal. Like you see everywhere around the world right now. The white people are the fucking softest. You get the Asians, you get the Slavs, right? Because even though everyone thinks we're white, Hitler concluded we are not white. We're Slavic, right? So like it's all kinds of different. And I'm like, anyway, so
yeah. Really? Like he believed that Slavs were a separate ethnicity to.
Yeah. We are not white. No. So Hitler was all for like Aryan white, which is blonde, which is like almost like Scandinavian, right? Like it's the very blue eyes. It's the blonde.
Okay, the Nordic people.
Slavs were dirty people. So it's always interesting when like people talk about Hitler and the Jews, and I'm like, well, can we talk about all the other people that he kind of like went for? He's like what? I don't know, all the criminals, all the Slavic people that were dirty, like the prostitutes. Well, those we could all be like, okay, perhaps, but no. So yeah. Anyway,
interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't. Well, because I figured if he was moving east, to kill every Slav didn't make sense. Huh?
Not real white.
Not
Slav.
really.
Different race.
Different. Yeah, some sort of Asian influence of some sort, but
yeah, Mongoloid. Like that's what it would come off then, right? Like it's the. But anyway, so everyone watch Matt Walsh, The Real History of Slavery, and the podcast Rachel Wilson on Joe Rogan. or any of her podcasts anywhere else. She's the secret behind the feminism.
Okay.
We solved it again.
I think so.
Sprinkled a little conspiracy in here.
Of course. Like little fish food, just right over the little goldfish.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Oh, we'll have to discuss now these things next week.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I'll watch the Rachel Wilson. I'll see if I can get the Rachel Wilson one the next week or so. Okay.
Okay. I hope you feel better. Keep hydrated. Everyone, we're rich and hydrated. This is Diamonds and Demons.